Thank you. Oh yeah, I don't need a mic, do I? I can speak. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, I don't sound loud enough. Is this better? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think this is better. Hi guys. Sorry I'm late. I should have come 30 minutes earlier, so we did all of this, but it's fine. We'll start now. I think what I think is a presentation. My presentation today is about my studio, Uru. I feel like, so I think how I describe it is I started out as a graphic designer. I used to make posters when I was in uni. And for making posters, I got curious about making websites. And for making websites, I started making products. And I feel like I'm at the phase of my life now where it's like building businesses. Because ultimately, you can build a product, but like if you can't sell and kind of get money in, like it just won't succeed. This is officially like the beginning of me thinking about like what does it look like if the studio was a commercial entity, I guess, that can sustain itself. So I think quite simply, Wuru is an art studio. We make animated films, collectibles, and archives. There are two, I'll say, main or full-time staff. There's me and there's Williams. I lead design at Paystack. I founded with Shola and Ezra. I built a bunch of startups. I mostly just did the work early and then the founders took it from there. We run the studio remotely, so we don't have a physical office. We mostly use Basecamp, Notion, like the likes. And we don't have a fixed team. We essentially hire a team for every project. All right, so I started the studio in 2021, early 2021. I've worked with about 45 people. We've produced 8 projects across like those 3 years. We spent that much, and only one project was really like commercial that like we sold and then we made like some profit from, which is what brought the revenue. There's something missing here. There's supposed to be a chart. Okay, I don't know. Let me see if I can get the chart off my head. But here you're supposed to see a circle that breaks down the different categories of spending like over the last 3 years. So most of what we spent money on was salaries. After salaries, one of the projects, an animation project, Hanky Panky, was the most. Voila, yes. Thanks, man. Do I need to reconnect this? Okay, because it's cool. So yes, these are kind of the projects. So salaries took a chunk of the money. I think salaries and also sort of like training, because I think like a lot of the people I work with were people who were looking to upskill or had a particular whether it was front end or design that they were trying to tack on. So the projects were a way for them to get real life experience, I guess, doing those things. There's Hanky Panky, then Feel Good was a website. We work with Studio Null on this. And I think a lot of the other projects just get a bit cheaper to produce. Ludo was really the only project that kind of made any money by intention. Most of it has been funded by me, and some of it's grants from friends. And I give all of this context to explain how, and I guess why, I feel like the studio can make money for itself. Okay, I'm ready to move on. So the next part is just going, I guess, into the different projects that we've done. So I want to explain how I'm thinking about the three types of projects I said we do, which is animated films, collectibles, and archives. Okay, so I'll start with archives. Essentially, the whole point of the studio is that we can make to sustain the studio, we need to essentially sell something. You either sell like a physical product or a kind of digital product. But I think to sell, you need an audience. And that's where the archives come in. The archives are essentially projects we do, on one hand to produce documentation, but on the other hand to build an audience that we can sell stuff to, if that makes sense. So far we've done 2 archives. We'll share the link to the deck after, and I've linked all of them. All the projects are kind of long, so I don't want to really go into them. But a summary of each one. For Cover Bank, it's a retrospective of album covers. It's about 5,300 covers. It's been featured on a couple of websites. A lot of these people worked on it for free. Some people, majorly the researchers, were paid, but there was a lot of just personal contribution here. This is what the, data looks like. We archived more than 5,000 covers, and more interestingly, I've identified 700 designers. It's interesting to know that we know 700 designers, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's a lot of people. And these are some kind of stats. How many people have kind of visited the site so far? It's been featured on Guardian, and it's nice that. There hasn't been, I would say, an intentional PR push for it. I think that this project can be a lot more, because if you've ever spoken to someone who makes covers, each cover they make is a different story of something that happened with the artist or the process of how it was made. So I think there's a lot we can do with Cover Bank to tell the stories of those covers and those artists, and that can help us kind of build and improve on this audience. The other project was Feel Good, launched last year. This was interesting because we brought the writers together, and we have a profit share, a revenue share agreement with the writers. So apart from a one-time fee, the idea is if we're able to, promote this and make it into other forms in future. So a very random example is someone reaches out to us and say they want to make a book based off of this, which has actually happened. Whatever kind of money that book makes, the studio makes a cut, but also each writer makes a certain cut. This was also the first donor-funded project. So all of the previous projects I've been doing by myself, this was the first one where I was able to convince a friend, for whatever reason, to fund. Our goal was to get to 50K readers. So the website, we were honored by the Webbies earlier, and we're at, I think, about 13,800 so far. So we still have a way to go, but the project exists. So yeah, so again, that's archives. They don't necessarily make money, and they won't make the studio sustainable, but they create documentation, they can generate a lot of editorial, and essentially attention. They can help us reach a lot of people. The second category of projects is animation. And this one is going to be interesting, I think, because, I don't think, so I think recently there's been a lot of interesting animation projects and collaboration with big studios like Disney. But we are still kind of far from an animation scene, or almost like a publishing industry where there's just more outputs, there's just more films, there's just more and not just in Nigeria, but just a scene is hard to describe, but so the first thing we made was kind of a short film, and the second we're working on is an anthology, a series. And the goal is that if we make it happen well enough, we can convince somebody to like license it, and then we get some money. And if that works, then yeah, content is tough, but we'll see. Hanky Panky was very expensive, but I would say largely because it was first time making animation. We wanted it to be really good. Most things, I think 80% of the cost was paid twice, so animation was done twice, sound was done twice. And so when we managed to get, I'll come back to this, like when we did the first pilot for the app, when it cost just like 2K, significant like difference, just like, it's much simpler, it's not as complex, but it still tells the story, and I feel like calling minimalism or whatever it is, to get production to, I feel like, a certain scale, it will be more like figuring out simple ways to animate and like focusing on rich stories. And so this was a model for like simple animation, but just very like engaging stories. For distribution for Hanky Panky, we screened in Lagos and London. We also published on YouTube and Mini Shots. There are a few thousand, I think about 5,000 views. I still think a lot more people can and should see the film, but I haven't really figured out how to get to the film. This was a picture from the screening in London. This was me and animator Josh, and we just keep getting close. We never really get anything, but I mean, maybe in the future. No. We're semi-finalists for some video animation. Yeah. And so, yeah, as I was saying, like what the studio is actively working on now is Ideapon, and just trying to make 5 more episodes, so kind of like have a season and then see where it goes from there. I'm hoping we can find studios to partner with, particularly for like marketing and distribution, but also to, because I think, so we spent 5 months more or less making second episode now, or we will spend 5 months, or maybe like 3.5 months in. And that's very inefficient. Like, you can't spend 5 months making 1 episode of the thing. So I feel like in talking to some of these studios, we'll probably make animation at scale. We can learn practices or like ways to just like produce faster. Yeah, that's animation. So animation feels like it has the potential to make a lot of money if we get the right deals and tell the right stories, but it's also a bit expensive, either money or time. And as I said, content is tough. We'll see. But collectibles are more very like direct, simple ways of making money. It's trade, it's buy or produce and sell. And maybe this will make us a lot of money, but I feel like this will build very strong brand association with people. It'll make us good money. Like profit margin on Ludo was 39%. I think averagely, like a lot of things go into profit margin, to be honest, but like I think above 20% is generally considered good, right? Yeah, so for Ludo, I work with Yadi. We produced it in kind of Lagos. To make 50 boards, it costs like 2.5 M, and just like profit margin was like 39%. Distributed online, and then we put some, like 5 of the box it at 1616. We did a few, like there was an Instagram page, there was a website that linked to the Instagram page. And it took us, I would say, maybe a month or so, or a bit longer to sell like all the boards. And the only other place apart from Lagos we had to ship to was London, and we realized that this was very impractical because shipping costs are looking good. So essentially, the learning from this is we do this again in future. We have to figure out like a lighter form factor, if that makes sense. And an ongoing project we're working on now is Noro, which is a very compact, like foldable stool made by also an old friend, Chuma, who went to UI. He's in Canada now, and he designed and produced this. And I guess we're working together to see if we can essentially like make a version that we sell in Lagos. So we'll see how that goes. We're making custom packaging. We're like doing a launch plan. It's essentially, this is a different model where, unlike Ludo, where like we produce and we made everything from scratch, there's already a product and you're basically just like reselling and figuring out like, things. So those are like, I guess the three broad ideas. So I think moving forward, a lot of what I think the studio is trying to do is just promoting very interesting ideas. So whether it's like a Ludo board or whether it's an animated short, the big idea is just like there's people in Nigeria have such interesting stories and interesting ideas. There's a big audience across the world that enjoys Nigerian culture, whether it's through music or something else, and those people will probably enjoy some of those stories. We want to make new stories, very high quality products, peer networks by like making these like teams per project. We're essentially building like communities of practice. Because I think as an independent artist in Lagos, one of the things that people struggle with a lot is just feedback and support management. In like a corporate organization, like a fintech company, you have those kind of structures. But as an independent artist, very often you don't have someone who's giving you feedback. You don't have someone who's kind of structuring your learning and development, figuring out like what your gaps are and like what you should be doing to get better. And so the goal is that by bringing people together to make projects and by directing, you essentially just teach people how to work better and create like networks of people who can help each other make things. And finally, documentation, which is just like, bearing witness to the interesting things being produced both by Wuru and I guess like a larger community. So that's the end of my slides. I wanted most of this to be questions, so thanks, I can take questions now.
All right. Can we put our hands together one more time for Opemipo? Okay, so like he mentioned, and this is real big, for him to give us the opportunity to pretty much ask how many questions? As many?
Yeah, I guess as long as time.
Okay, cool. So we're going to open the floor for questions now. Okay, so we have one. I want to just make sure that we're a good number. Who else has questions? Two. Okay. All right, so I think we can start and, okay, three. Okay, cool. I think we can start and then other people can ask as we go.
Hi everyone, hi Ope. I'm so excited to be here. I've been reading a lot of your past Medium articles, and I had been planning to reach out, so this felt just like a very good coincidence. So I have three questions. The first one is about, they'll be very quick. The first one is about your article, Method to the Madness.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good, just like on a personal basis, so just helping me figure out how to balance work and a lot of creative endeavors. Yeah. So I want to know if your approach to productivity has changed since, a lot of the work you do at Paystack has, I guess, increased since then, and a lot of your creative output has also increased.
Yeah, it definitely has changed, but I couldn't really describe it on the spot. I think with a lot of my essays, it's more me figuring things out, and so I literally have to write another essay to know how I work now, if that makes sense.
Is that a promise?
We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, the second one is on the cover bank you did.
Yeah.
So I'm working on something similar for Nigerian literature, and I'm very curious to just how you approached conversation about intellectual property. So did you have to, I guess, reach out to the artist? Did you have to sign anything?
Not really. We just make sure we link to where we got the image from and have a way for people to report if they want to take down an image. For the most part, we're not making money. It's not a commercial project. There are no hard and fast, I'll say, there's no legal thing, but we did those things just to make sure, if somebody comes and it's I don't want, it's yeah. you can have them back. Yeah.
Okay, my last question. I was one who interviewed Daniel for OK Africa, actually.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm curious as to how you justify a lot of the expense that goes
Yeah.
into creative endeavors that don't have a direct financial ROI. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's easier when you can say, okay, we can sell this, we get X% back,
Yeah.
and it makes sense to you. But for working on Cover Bank, for instance, how do you justify
Yeah.
how the money comes back to you?
Yeah, this is new, to be honest. This is my fresh thinking. But I think that's why I've separated the projects into archives, collectibles, and films, with the idea that, like, when I'm choosing a film, because films are supposed to be the things that make the biggest money, I'm going for the most, I mean, it's artistic, but also, like, commercially, like, viable project. With collectibles, off the bat, I'm not doing it if I can't sell it. And then archives don't have any, like, it's more about building an audience. There's no, I don't know how I'm going to, feel good money is, like, the money will come back in other ways, if that makes sense. If we get collectibles and the films right, then ideally, and all of this is, like, you know, an idea, but, like, ideally, they should be able to fund certain projects. Yeah. Also, we're applying for grants, and I imagine that, like, if we get some of that money, for me, like, a lot of the greatest ideas come from, I think, idle passion projects. And it's important for projects to make money because you can't sustain, a project doesn't, a company doesn't make money, can sustain itself. But I think it's also important to have room for passion projects that are not intended to make money. And it's up to almost like certain people who have access to be able to make as much money as they can, so that they can, like, fund more things that people don't need to make money out of. And then eventually you create almost like an ecosystem. But that's how I think about it, yeah.
All right. Hi. So, yeah, thanks for the presentation. Like, I love you guys' projects. I'm curious, right? How do you decide what to work on? There's like animation, there are like different stuff. Do you
Yeah.
decide to do like one per quarter or like, and how do you come up with ideas for them?
Yeah, so far every project was very serendipitous. So it's like, I was talking to my friends, they're like, I was thinking about this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, now let's do it. And they think I'm joking, but I'm serious. So, yeah, so far it's been that. Moving forward though, I think it's those three buckets again. It's like, is it an archive? Have we made money recently that we should be doing free work? If not, let's focus on maybe making a collectible. And then maybe if we make some money and then we have some extra cash. Because, it's only me and Williams on the team and we're not really paying ourselves. So if we're able to just have some money in the account, then we can go and do one small project again. But really, I think moving forward, the decision will be just based on what comes to us, how much can we raise. Because if we get a good grant, for example, then priorities change. Or you might get a grant where, like, your mandate is literally to, like, do a certain thing or impact a certain sector. And then, like, okay, then we're just doing an agriculture project for a while. Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah.
All right, cool. So, like, how, like, 45 people
Yeah.
is, like, a lot of people to
Yeah.
collaborate with. So, how do you guys decide who to work with? Or rather, like, what do you look out for when you're collaborating with, like, all those people?
Yeah. There's how I think about it, and I think that's how the studio has gone so far. How the studio has gone so far is my goal with every project was to make the best version of the thing. So I was looking for the best person who can make the thing. I wasn't looking out for, like, oh, do they communicate well? Do they, like, give updates? Some of the things I think in my work I look out for. And so, again, the past 3 years, the first phase was very much experimentation. And so there was no, I won't say specific, like, rhyme to it. But moving forward, I think I'm very intentional about, one, people that have time. I think a lot of people overestimate how much time they have. They like this thing, they would like to be part of it. They're like, and they just commit, and then you're chasing them, and everybody's unhappy, and we're fighting. When you could have just been saying hi from the sidelines, like I just left the thing. So I think that number one is time, like just being very honest about like how much time you have. But two is commitment. I don't know how to measure it, but I would say you can feel it. So in how people communicate, in how much they care about, like, you know, if someone comes and like they join your company, right, or your team, and by day 2 they've read all the documentation and they're just asking you questions. It's a very different vibe from somebody who is waiting for instructions, right? And so I think sometimes commitment is just expressed in how much the person is curious about the thing. Skill, I must have like demonstrable proof that like they've done the thing before and they can do it again, except it's the kind of project where we're all learning for the first time when it's fine, right? So depending on the project, I'll say those are some of the things I'll look out for when I work with people. Yeah.
Hi. Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi. My question is about like the process, right? Because you talked about the projects, but like you just glided through all of them.
Yeah.
So like, my question, like for example, like the Ludo project
Okay,
now.
yeah, let's take one. The reason why it was just long and
Yeah,
well,
like how was
did
it
Ludo-
sketched first? How
Okay,
did you decide the colors? Was there a 3D model? You know?
yeah, let me go back to Ludo. You're correct, man. I was just like, how am I going to fit all of these things inside one slide? I beg. Okay, Ludo, where's Ludo? Okay. Yeah, I have this picture here as well. So Ludo started from Yadi, a conversation with Yadi. So Yadi had been wanting to do it. She made a prototype. She actually made one Ludo and I think one Snakes and Ladder. She was carrying it everywhere and showing people. And people would tell her that like, oh yeah, you can make this a product, right? And unfortunately, she told me, I don't hear things and like, just move on. So I'm like, bet now. Let's do it. That's where it started from. And so we already knew like the kind of big idea. She had the design for the, she basically graphic designed the whole thing and it was on canvas. So she just printed because Ludo is it doubles as an artwork, so it's actually like archival canvas that is there. Yeah. So we knew we were going to print the archival canvas because it's a printer. She's an artist. She does prints. For the frame, so actually no, it wasn't even the frame we started with. The column, the thing that you put was what we then like started with because we wanted a very custom column, and we worked with Josh Agassi, right? So we made sketches, sent to Josh, went back and forth. The first one was going to be hexagonal. I think I have one in my house. The first one we made was hexagonal, but then it was basically weird with how the dice were shaking. So we decided to just leave it circular. And then we experimented with different tops for the head, different types of wood as well. We made like 6 samples of wood and 6 like samples of, thank you, this was actually a very good question. Yeah, we made like 6 like samples of wood. And then we decided, and then Josh produced the columns. The tokens, this plexiglass, Yadi went to Mushin, they cut it, and then they did that. And then Yadi's framer put it all together. Sorry, what's the name? The framers now. The framers. Frame Giddy. Yeah, I think Frame Giddy then, like, so we asked them for options because we had a very specific idea for, we wanted it to be something that was like really flat because, you're playing it but like also you can kind of hang. So we gave them different designs of how we wanted the back to be. Then when that was done, we bought stamps. So we like stamped the back with Ludo. We made like a red stamp. Then packaging was also like, we experimented with wood. We spoke to Kasum Woodworks. They gave us 3. There was a mahogany box. I like that one more, but it's more expensive. Then there was like the, I forget the material of the other one, the one we did, There was the other board. And then we played around with different like designs for the latches. And then for packaging, it was we're just like, okay, we need something inside that people can read when they open it. We need something to wrap it. We need some tape to put it in. Then we need some like nice paper inside. We bought stuff, went to my house, and we packed everything, and put it online and sold it. So yeah, sorry, I moved on. So yeah, that was the process for Ludo. Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. So my question is a bit simple, right? On the thought of you talking about time, how are you finding balance, right? In, because you sound like locomotive engine. So how you finding balance in all of these things you're doing?
I don't know, it's tough. I want to try to answer. How do I find balance? I think there are cycles. There are times when I don't actually have balance. Right now, I don't have balance. I haven't slept well. Yeah, I may not look like it, but I haven't slept well. I think there are cycles where I'm working like extremely and things are like. I think first, just generally, I break down my work into small bits. 1. 2, I delegate a lot. My idea of you tell me to do something is to find the person who is most interested in doing it and convince them to do it. So, and I document well, so I can essentially create like, I can lead people without being there. They just know what to do because I've written out how everything is supposed to go. So I think a combination of those things makes it easy for me to just take on a lot of things and move them like one bit at a time. But also like, looking back, I know I have cycles of sometimes I'm just a bit off kilter. And then I'm like, let me create a schedule. And then I'm going to wake up at this. I'm not going to open my laptop to this. And do it for like 2 days. And then, so I don't know, yeah. Yeah, of course. Ask me questions about Paystack. Yeah, I'm the same person. Ha!
What's been your favorite project and why?
Favorite project, why? Let's see. Okay, I don't even know why I spent time thinking about it. Hanky Panky, obviously. Why? Because this was my project. I feel like every other project was a bit of me talking to someone and feeling like, I need to make this happen. This was 100% me waking up and like, it would be nice to make an animated film. And like, I did it. So it's a really, it's fantastic. And I worked with lots of people, like, all of those people are my friends, literally, like, you know them, like Daniel, Jessica, Chooks. Okay, not Joshua, but Chooks, they're my friends now. Sorry, like, these are people, like, I've known for a long time. Like, we've worked together we've been in the same office in Yaba at some point, or we used to write for the same blog at some point. Just like, these are people that have just been in your life, in and out, but you've never really gotten to work together. And when you work together, it's to make like something like this. I mean, like, I think it's really, beautiful.
Leading into Paystack questions, in what ways does your work with Wuru overlap with your work with Paystack?
Given I'm the same person, I think like so I think my work at Paystack is a lot of systems, like it's a structured environment. Wuru is, as the name suggests, is a bit more dynamic. I think that's so great because I take the structure, because I think you can get like very obsessed with structure in a company. And that structure robs you of some creativity, but you don't realize it because you're just like too obsessed with structure. When I take those structures and I apply it to artists, people who are not like, I'm not managing them. They don't fear me, if that makes sense. In the traditional like hierarchy of work, they don't have that relationship with me at all. You can't force them to do things. You get to like reconsider your like systems and look for different ways to influence and convince them, which often I take back to then make those systems at work better. And so it's just things I learn on both sides I take like in between. I think this as a personal art expression, whatever, also like sharpens me, I think, in the work I do. exposes me to, because a lot of what we do is like, a paystack is commerce and like payments and stuff. This lets me have I guess, empathy for creators in my work at Paystack. And so I carry my understanding of how people work, how much people are paid into, again, some of the products that we do indirectly. So I think, yeah, those things.
Okay, hi. I have two questions. The first one is, I'm very curious about how long it took to make the Ludo board, because it looked like there were like a lot of like prototyping steps involved and all of that. Yeah. And then the second one is, so for that Ludo one in particular, because I think that's the one that we have the most context on, given the explanation you gave, how was it like managing all the people involved? Because I feel like with things that are collectible, when you have like physical products, the process of like managing artisans and like, you know, getting people to do what they need to do, that process can be like, it can alone like just put you off making things. So what was that like, and like how did you manage expectations? How did you communicate? Like what was in your head to the people and all of that?
I remember one thing, I think it was one of my friends, Osi. He said, we were having a conversation once about just like the quality of almost like printers in Shomolu, and how essentially the problem is you have these high expectations of what a printer is supposed to be, and you want to impose it on them. But they have certain machines. If you instead went to understand their machines and the capabilities of their machines, and then design for their machines, you'll probably get better outcomes. And so the answer is Yadi was the one that figured everything out. Because Yadi is an artist, she has built, like she knows she has a framer, she has a this, she has a that. So I didn't need to do, and like for the craft work, it was Josh, who is a very sophisticated, I'd say, like artist in his own way. So we're relating as peers versus like as like artisan to this. Even the like woodworks guy, we're also talking to someone who cares about his craft. So pretty much like I think one was, it was the idea that was driving it, but also like the people we worked with were really just like, they were peers. They weren't like, so it was easier. How did it what? How long? I don't remember. Anything I say is a lie. I don't actually remember, but I'll find out, I'll tell you.
Okay. Before we move to the next question, please, if you parked a black Toyota Corolla, we need you to please kindly help us move your car. Well, this sounds like a church announcement, but please, if you parked a black Toyota Corolla, please, we need you to move your car.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Can you tell us about a project that didn't really go well? And how you managed it? Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Should this thing go well?
Sorry, Opemipo, please, just 1 second. Please, your plate number is AKD717ES. Please, can you help us move your car? Don't worry, you're not going to miss so much, but please.
Okay. So I think because it's tough to talk about projects that didn't go well, because essentially the philosophy of the studio was to follow the idea, and like if something doesn't work out, kind of just figure out what else. And so in every single project, there was always something that like didn't go as planned, but then like we just figured out a way to, or change the idea. For example, cover band. This originally started out as a magazine, and then I'm like, okay, since I can't make a magazine, let me make just one story. And then I was like, okay, this story will be about the history of Afrobeats. And then I started calling and talking to people. And very quickly I realized that that was not a story I had the capacity to write. And in doing that, I was like, why not just make a website that I can do? and collect covers. That's an example. Hanky Panky, I was saying we did everything twice. So we got the first set of animators. They were much younger animators. And between just like school, one of them was in Yabatek or something, just between school requirements, not having light most of the time and having to like work only when there's light. It was just really hard. And I think one of them, like, his parents didn't want him to be doing animation. It's just like, there were all of these like factors that you couldn't have considered. And they weren't communicating. This is me even explaining it for them after. During the process, it was just very like, guys, what's up? And like, nobody's responding. And it took months to get to a point where it's like, okay, the problem is that you actually don't have the talent. You need to hire someone who can actually make the film, otherwise this film won't get made. And then you're starting from scratch and telling the previous animator, okay, we're here now, we haven't made progress, but instead of just like being angry, can you help me find someone who can finish making this film and just sign a contract with them from scratch and let's start again, more or less. And doing that was essentially what got the film made. So in small ways, even the sound as well, we made a bunch of music and then we didn't want to use it, so we had to like say bye to that person, get someone else, so everything had its own, I would say, like, yeah, but we mostly just decided, okay, based on what's happening, what's the best like way forward, and just moved.
Hello.
Where's the question from? Oh, that, yeah.
Hello. So. Yeah, I saw that I went to check the Ludo page immediately because it looks so nice and lovely. But it's currently sold out. Will it be coming back at any time? Because I would like to own one or two.
Yeah, can you please just crop that part, send to me so I can send to Yadi? Yeah. I don't know. There's a part of, I think, there's one part of us, I think, that thinks of it as a true collectible. We only made 50 and we never made any again. There's the other part that's just like, what if we want to buy this thing, right? So I guess we'll see. I don't know. What I know, though, is in future we'll have a certain variant of it that's just cheaper, lighter, and just more accessible. But this particular one, I can't promise you I'll make it again.
All right. Good evening. My question is based on your movie animation, actually. So I would like to ask, during your process, because I know you mentioned how you guys are stuck making episode 2 of a project like 5 months. I'm like, what drags your project? What is the setback while making an animated?
Thank you. Number one is that nobody's serious in the whole studio. And I mean that to say it's not anybody's full-time job, right? So I will always pick my thing that's paying me first and do this when I have time. And no matter how much I convince people, you need to, like, if I don't have a leader that is full-time doing that thing, I'll get the same result as I am putting in. So number one is like nobody's really full-time on it. So it's a slow burn project. Just because we're all doing this as a passion project, we can take as much time. And we trust that, like, as long as there's rhythm and there are updates every week, Even if some weeks it's like, we didn't do anything last week, it's fine. As long as they're doing the updates, at some point, you finish. Another thing is just money, obviously, because you can solve that problem by hiring, but we don't have money. So because we have to minimize costs, we also just like take time on projects. Yeah, I think those are the two major.
Okay, so I also have another question. Sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions because I'm in the movie field. So the reason I'm asking is because when you have a project like this and then it's dragging and you say money is the issue, because I know you talked about Disney and a whole lot of other companies that are doing it big. And I'm like, if you have a solid project here and then you do like a pilot episode of it, if you feel it's good enough, you can actually pitch and then the whole issue of money can be solved. So are they like people that you have in mind that you reached out to and like, okay, we have this solid project.
Yeah.
This is the vision behind it, and you try to sell a project to them. Like, do you also do that? Or
please let's give me your number so you can do the pitching. I essentially have not done it because I can't do it. I don't have the time, I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the skills. But if there's someone who could do the pitching, I think that's one of the benefits of talking about what I'm doing. So I can find people to do the parts that I don't know how to do. So yeah, I'll talk to you after.
Okay, so we have just 2 more questions. But before we go to the questions, please, if you parked a silver Toyota Corolla, plate number BDG 873JE. It's even you. Don't worry, you get your question answered. Don't worry. Because last man was outside and he wanted to tow the car. The one that parked in black.
Wow. Last man.
Hi, Ope.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I missed it, but can you please talk about your partnership with Hello World?
Wow. It's a completely different thing.
Because I know you guys worked together on the album cover thing, no?
Yeah, so... basically, Hello World is what I imagine as like a bucket for my technology interests. It's 2 things. 1, every now and again, somebody comes to meet me that they want to intern. 2, every now and again, somebody comes to meet me that they have a project that they want to do, and they would like me to do it. But obviously, I don't have time, and they couldn't even afford to pay, or they're just starting small. They don't So the idea is like, I used to consult it to me. We had this just used to do work. Like we have legal documents, it's a business, so I can just every 6 months, every 6 months, take a bunch of people in, take projects, and make it just like enough money to pay the people who are in the studio, work on the project. And then, because there's now a team that can build websites and stuff, take any website projects from other things. But it all depends on the quality of the Hello World team at that point, depending, sometimes you say. So technically, Hello World made album cover bank because of that. Yeah, that's just it's a website. So I imagine that Wuru is responsible more for going to markets now. Hello World has produced. It's like a production company in that sense. Yeah. So yeah, that's the relationship.
All right. Thank you. Can we put our hands together for Opemipo? All right. I want to just give the lady that went out to move her car the opportunity to ask her question, and that will be the last question for tonight.
Cool.
While we wait for her, please, can we just put our hands together one more time? All right. Before she asks her question, if you do not know what this is called The Huddle, right? It happens every 3rd Thursday in a month.
Please go on.
Okay, so please, people have been asking how you can support us, right? And we only have 2 asks, and they don't involve money or anything. First one, can you subscribe to YouTube if you are not subscribed yet? Right, so what we do is every time, and that's why you can see there are a lot of cameras here, we try to make this as professional as possible so that we can reach a wider reach of people. So please subscribe to our YouTube. Secondly, please, as much as possible, you come for the huddle, but you don't share on social media. Post now. It's not a secret gathering. We want people to know, right? When we get to the point where we can actually accommodate the number, to be honest, over 300 people registered for this event, and we're even at max, and we're even over the actual limit that we have, right? So please, as much as possible, we have some very prominent people here that we know that your social media does a lot, right? So you can just share, talk about the huddle, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
So my question is, we've been talking about the past of Wuru. What's the next thing?
Hey.
What's the next big thing we should be expecting?
Big thing is, I say, raising money. It's something I've not done or been able to do before. So if we're able to convince, some international organizations to give us money, that's a big milestone. And I'm just going to keep asking them for money.
So in terms of projects?
Oh, right. I'm not interested in projects right now. I'm kidding. Collectibles, I mentioned so animation, it happened. We're working on the 2nd episode. We're almost done. We expect to be done by the end of June. And then hopefully just like, we want to make 5 episodes, so 4 more episodes. As I said, this one is running too slow, so part of why like I'm trying to raise money is so we can just hire more animators and just move a lot faster. For collectibles, Noro, this tool, figuring out, is there a way to kind of produce it? So it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's a machine, it's a 3D printable kind of tool. If you have a CNC machine, you can make it. So one of the experiments I'm looking to do is like, these tools cost $140 Canadian dollars. Like, Chuma distributes it for that price. Shipping it down is going to cost like, I would say like another additional $60 or something at the size. Will I be able to convince people to buy for $200 at like, how much is it now? 1.5, 1.7, I don't know. I don't know. So what if we have like local production and we work with like some furniture studios, we license them to produce it, we see how much it costs, and then we just sell like a cheaper Nigerian version. I haven't spoken to Chuma about this, so yeah, but that's like, no. So I think those two, archives is really building an editorial team. It's like there's so much content. Like Coverbank has like so much content. Feel Good has so many like direction. Just need an editorial, a full-time editorial team that's just like making stories from this. So that's it. For archives, it's like an editorial team to make stories. Collectibles, Noro, films is Ideapon, and trying to raise money so that we can, magazine, yeah, Spectrum as well.
Okay, thank you. I have one question, right? Yeah. What has been like the biggest challenge in raising money? Because I know that...
I haven't tried.
You haven't tried at all?
I haven't really tried. For my friends, yeah, I've reached out to. So I've raised from 2 friends. Okay. And I try to do it professionally, try to like structure it. Like, I registered as a non-profit as well. So in the case where it's a grant, I have an entity where kind of the money can move through. It's also structured such that like proceeds go back a certain percentage. When we trying to come up with like a standard commercial structure with the artist, where if we're bringing production costs, we keep this amount, you take this amount, you keep the rights to the product. I lost my train of thought. Oh, you're asking me again.
What's the challenge with raising?
Yes, so the biggest challenge with raising is that I really haven't tried. I've really just wanted to see if it was a viable thing to do, and now is when I'm just actually trying. I feel like I have enough, and it's not really about. I think people raise money with way less and like fraction of an idea, but I think for myself, I hold myself very like responsible to other people's money, so I won't be able to like rest easy the way I do if like I was doing this on grants money. But now I feel like I'm in a place where like, yeah, I can set up a team to do it if I got the money, and so that's.
Are you open to one more question?
Yeah, man, I can take.
Thank you. My question is about the collectibles. Do you just strictly collaborate with artists, or do you also come up with designs and like share with artist friends to
I think I would like to just do collaborations. I think it just makes it richer. And I signed up for this platform called Metalabel. It's a co-founder of Kickstarter. Is starting a new platform for like arts collectives to sell and to publish their work. And a lot of the ethos of, I think, Metalabel is just around this idea of co-creation and communities. I think collectibles are richer when they are done with people, because there's just so much shared context in the work, and it's more a representation of a scene, more so a representation of any kind of specific person, which is, I think, what I want the projects to be. So with the collectibles, I think I will always want to like collaborate. If I wanted to make a project for myself, I wouldn't make a Wururu, like I'll just make it by myself. The idea is for Wururu to exist outside of me, if that makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Opemipo.